Elsewhere, Gary Lineker will leave his role of the BBC's flagship football programme Match of the Day. He released this video a short while ago. Let's take a listen.
Hi everyone, some personal news. Last week I shared a post here on Instagram that contained an emoji that has awful connotations. Unfortunately, I did not see the emoji. If I had, I would never ever have shared it. The minute I was made aware, I quickly deleted the post and went on to make an apology. I would like once again to say I'm sorry unreservedly for the hurt and upset caused. It was a genuine mistake and oversight, but I should have been more diligent. I know that. I've stood up for minorities and humanitarian issues and against all forms of racism all of my life, including, of course, anti-Semitism, which I absolutely abhor. There's no place for it and never should be. So I think it's best for all concerned that I step down from BBC presenting duties altogether and not do next season's FA Cup or World Cup. The final day of the Premier League season on Sunday will be my last show. It's been a pleasure and a huge privilege working with the BBC for 30 years, especially hosting Match of the Day, a programme that is so close to my heart and an integral part of my life. I'd like to thank all of the quite brilliant, talented and lovely people, both in front and behind the camera, that I've worked alongside for 3 decades. You're an absolute best. The relationship with the BBC has been long and wonderful, but it's the right time for the organisation and myself to go our separate ways. Thank you also to all of you for your incredible support and love over so many years. It means the world to me. I'll see you all on Sunday.
Well, let's talk to Carla Spate, who is an expert in crisis comms and PR. And Carla, did he have to go after that Instagram post?
Well, I think he should have learnt from the last time that he was on Twitter putting out his opinions. It's a real shame, though, because he is an absolute legend in the football world, especially he's become part of Match of the Day. What is sport on BBC going to be without Gary Lineker? But really, he should have known better.
Would it have been odd for him to stay on? Because they already had a replacement for Match of the Day, didn't they? They've already got 3 new presenters coming into that role. He was going to be doing a number of other programmes over the coming year. It was a slightly odd end to the contract anyway, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He was definitely sort of wandering the corridors. It would be a way I'd describe it. They sort of was trying to find a place for him that felt a bit kind of for an exit that was inevitable, really.
It seemed a meticulously planned exit, you know, released at bang on the nose of midday. The BBC had a well-written statement, and then Gary Lineker's video. What did you make of that video?
Oh, that was incredibly controlled. From a PR perspective, Gary's desperately wanting to control the narrative before sort of the tabloids run wild and the internet goes even more crazy over conspiracy theories of what's happened. But from the BBC's perspective as well, they're also making sure that it's quite clear what's happened and why he's going.
I mean, it looked a bit like a hostage video, some people have said. You know, it was a sort of very strange, sort of bleak framing in the background.
I think that's quite fitting, though, to be honest. I think he is a bit gutted about leaving sport for the BBC, and I think it shows that there isn't sort of a next step planned yet for him. But it also shows a very sort of sincere side to Gary as well, because there's plenty of people that make mistakes out there in terms of putting things on social media or saying things in public that they wouldn't ordinarily say. But, you know, Gary's kind of come out and went, no, I own what I say, and I want to make sure that you understand that it didn't come from a place, you know, of anything other than complete ignorance to what he was posting. And that's got to be commendable for him, because not many people would be that brave.
It's the challenge, really, of presenters expressing their personal views. It's something that the BBC has struggled with, that other presenters have struggled with, but he is the highest profile, really, isn't he?
Well, I think given that he is a presenter, he should have actually voiced his opinions using the thing he does best and the thing we know him for, which is his presenting skills. Why he's just seen a post online and shared it without really thinking about it is baffling. But everybody lives and learns, and I guess Gary's really sort of done that the hard way again.
Do you think this is the end of his sports presenting career? It felt very final, didn't it? So it's obviously the end of his time with the BBC. He's been asked about whether he would go to other sports broadcasters, and he said, why would he? Do you think this actually feels like the right time for him to close this particular chapter? It's not like he hasn't got other things going on. His Goalhanger production company is enormously successful.
I think that anybody out there at the moment that has a streaming channel that presents football or kind of anything in the sporting world, there'll be somewhat of a bidding war for Gary now, because he's likely, with all the support he's got from football fans throughout the generations, whether those that grew up watching him play or those that have grown up watching him present, I think they'll follow him. So there's for the streaming giants out there that, challenge mainstream TV for the football coverage, they're gonna have a real opportunity with Gary right now.
I mean, in terms of how the BBC have handled it, do you think they should have nipped it in the bud a little bit earlier? It's not the first time that obviously he's been in hot water for expressing his personal opinions.
I think what Gary needed the first time, or after the first time, was teaching how to use social media appropriately. They were never going to stop him having an opinion, but he needed to have that sort of critical thinking taught to him that most media training sort of centers around. And I'm surprised that he wasn't given more sort of skills in terms of social media and sort of how to apply that. Take a minute, what does it mean? Are you sure? And sort of think about it before you post. It is a really tricky situation because BBC is a brand, as with every channel and every sort of a production house even. But Gary, he needed to be taught how to use it better. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, but I think when you have that public profile like he has, it can be seen as trying to sway the masses rather than an individual opinion. So yeah, it's a tricky one, that, but the bottom line is he should have been supported a bit better in this time.
What lessons do you think the BBC will have learned from this?
Take the social media off the presenters. No, I think the BBC have got to understand that their presenters are people, and that the training needs to come from in-house. So they need to be sort of taught from a more PR perspective. What you do tweet matters, what you do say on a reel matters, and here's how to kind of navigate that nuance. And when it comes to kind of high importance topics like what's going on even in Ukraine, as well as what's going on in Israel and Palestine, I think that presenters need to be given the full facts of it, and in-house training for what red flags to look for. Certain emojis can make an absolutely massive difference. And I think that if Gary had been shown by the BBC's internals, look out for this, and this when you're sharing your opinions, it just would have been avoided.
Carla Spade, crisis comms and PR expert. Interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Let's get a quick look at the weather.